So in the previous few videos, we talked about scope and also about visibility in Java. So now it's actually time for a challenge. So I'm going to paste the challenge in here, then we'll just discuss it, and then you can make a start on that. So here's the challenge. It's to write a small program to read an integer from the keyboard using scanner. And of course, we've used that many times in the course to date. And also to print out the times table for that number, whatever the number was entered from the keyboard. And the table should run from 1 to 12. Now, you're allowed to use one variable called scanner for your scanner instance. And you can use as many other variables as you need, but they must all be called X. So that includes any class instances and loop control variables that you may decide to use. Now, if you use a class, the class can be called or should be called X with a capital, but any instances of it must be called X with a lowercase. So any methods you create must also be called X. And it's an optional extra. Change your program so that all variables, including the scanner instance, are called X. So what we're trying to do here is learn what scope is and to use the appropriate scope to make this happen. So by actually having you go through calling everything X, you're going to really have to understand where to use things and where the scope is appropriate for you to be able to do that. So that's the challenge. Now's the time to pause this video and go away and have a go and see if you can come up with a solution to that. And so when you're ready to see my solution, come back and we'll go through that. Okay, so how did you get on? Did you figure it out? So let's go ahead now and implement the solution. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a class. And I mentioned there that if you use a class, the class can be called X. So we need that. So we're going to create that. I'm going to go into our package, right click, new class, X with a capital X. And we're going to create a field, int X, the private. We're going to create a constructor, which is going to accept that parameter, then update the field we're using this. So this.x equals X, as you can see there. We're going to create our function, which actually does the times table. And it's going to be public void X for int X equals 1, X less than 13, X plus plus, and we'll print out X plus times plus this dot X plus equals plus X times this dot X. And what we need to do is go back to our main class now and actually call this. So we're going to go back to main, and actually first things first, we're going to input from the keyboard, the actual number that we're going to process. So scanner equals new scanner system.in. And then we're going to print out a message, please enter a number. And X equals new X scanner dot next int and X.X. So if we run that just to confirm that it's actually going to work, number we'll try 2, and we can see we've got 2 work from 1 to 12, and that's working fine. So you can see what we've done there. We've used X everywhere, but we've managed to, by using the appropriate scope, to get the program to work without it actually coming up with a problem with the X being considered like a duplicate. And of course, the way we've done that is in the X class, we created a field. We've got a constructor that accepts the parameter, then updates the field. Then in the method X, we're using the integer X for the for loop, but we're using this.x instead of obviously the X for the for loop to get it to work. Now, as the optional extra, change your program so that all variables, including the scanner instance, are called X. And the way we can do that is we can go back here to our X class, and instead of just having this.x equals X and having a parameter, we'll change this. So we'll actually pass a parameter of scanner, and we'll accept that import. And then we'll actually put a message here. Please enter a number. And we're going to accept the input. This.x equals X dot next int, like so. So now if we go back to main, We can change this a little bit, and we can copy this new part because we're going to need that. Delete out those first two parts, then x equals new x, and this time it's going to be new scanner.systemin, like so, then just x.x. So now we've literally got everything using x. And if we run that again, confirming that it works fine. So I know it's a contrived example, and it's something it's certainly not a way you'd normally code, because it's very hard to read with all the variables and even the methods and the class being called x. But the point is, by understanding scope and visibility, we're actually able to achieve our goal of doing that. So I hope that's actually helped, and I hope you did well in the challenge, and we'll see you in the next section.